The shoes sat in the hallway like royalty, pink, sparkly, impossible to miss. I was maybe 12 when I first noticed how everything that belonged to my stepsister Carrie seemed to have its own pedestal. Her shoes were lined up neatly in glass display cases. Mine, tossed in a plastic bucket by the back door, still damp from last winter. Carrie was a year older, prettier by my stepmother's standards, and, apparently, some kind of miracle to my father. One morning, I needed to borrow shoes for gym. I reached for Carrie's pink runners, just for the day, but before my fingers touched the laces, a voice boomed down the stairs like thunder. "Put that back." Dad's shadow swallowed the hallway. "You touch her things again, you lose yours," he hissed. I just needed. He stormed down like a storm itself. I didn't move fast enough. His hands didn't just grab me, they threw me. I tumbled down the stairs, my elbow cracking against the steps, my back slamming into the wood, my vision blurred. At the top, Carrie stood, phone in hand, smirking. "Guess your shoes weren't enough for her," she said sweetly. Dad stood at the bottom, staring down like I was trash. "You don't deserve feet if they go near her stuff. Maybe you forgot your place." I didn't cry, not in front of them. I waited until they left, then crawled to my room. I missed school for a week. No one asked why. The bruises faded, but the silence stayed. By 17, things only got worse. I worked part-time at a diner to afford the basics. Carrie, she had a closet bigger than my whole room. Dad bought her a car at 16. I wasn't allowed to use the washing machine unless I paid for the water. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, I got reminders. "You were the mistake. She's your sister. Be grateful she lets you breathe the same air. Girls like you don't get anywhere. You're just noise." Noise, trash, a background character in my own home. One night, a fever hit me so hard I couldn't lift my head. I begged for help. Stepmom shouted through the door, "It's not our fault you're weak." Carrie banged on the wall, "Shut up, we're watching a movie." I passed out, woke drenched in sweat. I survived, but something inside me broke that night. Not the illness, the cold, clear message. I wasn't their child, I was their family joke. At 18, I left. No goodbyes, no tears, just enough cash for a shared apartment and a full-time job at a mechanic's garage. Ken, my boss, was the first man who saw me. "You got hands that think," he said. "That's rare." For the first time, I was seen. Years passed, I built a life, bought my own car, fixed machines bigger than my past. I never looked back until last month. After 8 years of silence, I got a text from Dad. "Family dinner, come, it's time." Time for what? I ignored it. Then Carrie texted, "Dad's retiring, don't embarrass us, just show up, we'll even let you sit at the table." Let me laugh. But something inside me clicked, not forgiveness, but calculation. I replied, "Sure, I'll be there." But I didn't come empty-handed, and I didn't come to sit. That night, the house gleamed with wealth, a marble staircase, a chandelier that probably cost more than my car. The hallway where I once crawled glowed like a museum. Dad opened the door himself, hair thinning, but arrogance untouched by time. "Well, look who remembers she has a family," he sneered. "Didn't think you'd come, must be out of free meals." I smiled tightly. "Nice to see you too, Dad." He laughed like I'd told a joke, then glanced down at my work boots. Still dressing like a factory worker, some things never change. Carrie appeared behind him, perfect, plastic, white dress, manicured nails, a fake smile. "You made it," she said, voice dripping pity. "Don't worry, Dad, I'll make sure she doesn't touch any shoes this time." Stepmom giggled behind a wine glass. I said nothing, jaw tight. Inside, the air was thick with memories, the polished floors, the hollow laughter that never included me. Dinner was a staged performance, candles, silverware, flowers, and cruelty disguised as small talk. Dad raised his glass. "To family." Carrie smiled for the cameras. "To the ones who made us proud." Their eyes slid over me. I sat quiet, plate untouched. My hands were steady. Years taught me silence cuts deeper than screams. Finally, Dad looked at me. So, what have you been up to? Fixing engines, changing tires? Running my own shop now, I said. Carrie rolled her eyes. A shop? How quaint, Dad. She actually thinks turning a wrench is some kind of accomplishment. Dad's smirk curled, like he'd been waiting to say this. You could have been more, he said, voice dripping with condescension, if only you'd learned some respect. Respect. The word hit me like a cold slap. I saw the stairs again. The cold wood floor. The laughter that wasn't meant for me. I learned it, I said quietly, meeting his gaze, just not from you. His smirk faltered. What's that supposed to mean? Respect, I said, voice steady, means not shoving your kid down a staircase for touching a pair of shoes. The room fell utterly silent. The air thickened. Stepmom cleared her throat, forcing a laugh. Oh, come off it. Stop living in the past, you always did have a flair for drama. Drama? I repeated, voice rising just enough to make them listen. You mean the time I couldn't walk for 2 days? That was drama. Dad slammed his fork down like a judge's gavel. Watch your tone. You think coming back here means you get to talk to me like that? Carrie smirked, swirling her wine glass like she was savoring the moment. Oh, Dad, she's just jealous she never got the spotlight I did. I leaned forward, eyes cold steel. You're right. I never got the attention. I got the bruises instead. Her smirk cracked. Maybe, I said, you should ask yourself why I'm here now. Dad's sneer deepened. You think you scare us? You left with nothing. You are nothing. I reached into my bag and slid a thick envelope across the table. What's this? Carrie asked, greed flashing in her eyes. I smiled, calm and cold. Proof. Dad's face tightened. Proof of what? Proof of where your money really went. Their faces twisted in confusion, suspicion. You remember that construction project you bragged about? The one supposed to turn your little empire into a franchise? I said, voice low and deliberate. The one you registered under my name when I was still a minor? To dodge taxes. Dad's eyes widened like he'd swallowed a lemon. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I do, I said, pulling out the documents. Contracts, bank statements, and your forged signatures. Color drained from his face. Carrie froze. Stepmom set down her glass, voice trembling. You wouldn't expose your own father. I leaned back, calm as ice. I already did. Carrie jumped to her feet, voice sharp and frantic. You're lying. Am I? I said. I pulled out my phone and hit play. Dad's voice filled the room, laughing, bragging to a client about hiding business liabilities under the name of the kid who vanished. Dad exploded out of his chair. You had no right. I had every right, I said, voice cold and final. You used me. Buried me under your mistakes. Now it's your turn to live under them. Carrie's voice cracked. You can't do this to us. I turned toward her slowly. Do you know what it feels like? I asked. To be told you don't deserve feet. To be thrown down the stairs because you touched someone's shoes. Her face drained of color. That was years ago, she whispered. I still feel the steps, I said softly, every single one. Dad reached for the envelope, but I slid it out of his grasp. Oh, don't worry, I added, calm as glass. I didn't go to the police. I sent everything to your investors. They'll do worse than jail. The room cracked open. Dad's hand shook. Stepmom gasped. Carrie muttered something that sounded like a prayer. I stood, pushing my chair back with a scrape that sliced through the silence. Dad's voice broke. You can't walk out on us again. We're family. I glanced down at the same polished stairs that once broke my back. You taught me what family means, I said. Now you get to live with it. I left to the sound of chaos, Carrie shouting, Dad slamming drawers, Stepmom sobbing into her hands. Outside, the night air was sharp and cold. I didn't feel it. I walked away, slow, steady, deliberate, the same steps I once fell down. I climbed in reverse. And I wasn't done. Because for everything they did to me, for every bruise, every insult, every time they made me crawl, I had one final lesson to teach. They made me crawl. Now they would learn how to walk. Bear. The news spread fast. 3 days after that dinner, the first call came from one of Dad's former investors. Then 2 more. By the end of the week, their empire cracked like porcelain. Turns out, when your foundation's built on fraud, forged signatures, and unpaid debts, pulling out even one brick, especially the one with my name on it, brings the whole thing down. Bank accounts froze, contractors walked, shareholders filed lawsuits faster than Dad could scream. I didn't need to speak, the truth did all the shouting for me. But I wasn't finished. What they did to me wasn't just cruelty, it was erasure. They wanted me to feel less than human, like I wasn't even worth the shoes on my feet. So I made sure they'd never forget. I waited until the assets were seized, the mansion listed for auction, and Carrie's online silence turned into gossip. She couldn't show her face anymore, not after every brand she'd ever tagged dropped her overnight. Turns out, luxury doesn't like scandal. They moved out of the mansion in the dead of night. Reporters camped outside. A neighbor filmed them dragging suitcases down the front steps, their designer luggage clattering on marble, faces hidden behind sunglasses. The video went viral. And for the first time, the world saw them the way I always had, falling down their own staircase. The comments exploded. A family that walks all over others now walks alone. Karma clearly didn't come with heels. She didn't deserve feet, look who's crawling now. But the real finale waited until Sunday morning. I rented the same ballroom where Carrie's private charity gala used to glitter every year, the one I'd been banned from because I didn't fit the look. I copied it down to the last detail, the color palette, the floral arrangements, the guest list. Invitations went out under a new name, pitched as an exclusive networking event for luxury entrepreneurs. They came anyway, Carrie in scuffed stilettos, Dad in a blazer that had seen better press, stepmom clutching her purse like it still bought respect. The doors locked behind them, the big screen flickered to life, no music, just me, images, documents, records, photos of my bruised back, x-rays of a broken elbow, bank statements with his forged signature, audio of his boasts, a slow, methodical stripping away of the neat lie they'd built. The room turned. Guests backed away as if the truth were contagious. One investor walked up, looked Dad in the eyes, and spat on the floor at his feet before walking out. Carrie tried to leave. The doors held. The last slide read, "You said I didn't deserve feet, now none of you deserve to stand tall." When the lights came up, I was on the stage, calm, in the same beaten work boots they used to sneer at. I stood taller than I'd ever allowed myself to be. Dad opened his mouth and made no sound. Carrie's knees gave out. She clutched a chair. Stepmom's breath came out small and thin. "Why?" she whispered. I walked forward slowly, because I still remember lying at the bottom of those stairs while you laughed. I said, "This is what the laughter looks like when it's returned." Carrie cried, not remorseful, but humiliated. I turned to Dad. "I didn't break you. I didn't need to. I only showed people what you already were." Security escorted them to the back exit. I watched as they stepped outside with no car waiting, heels too tight, dignity gone. Reporters snapped photos, guests filtered out the front, murmuring. I slid into my car, rolled the window down, and said one thing before I pulled away: "You taught me how to crawl, now try walking without falling on your truth." Then I drove off, no chauffeur. No escort, just the open road and 3 people learning, painfully and publicly, how to take the next step.